Chapter 1. The Navarre Home. They say dreams fade the moment you wake up, but some stay with you, etched into your bones like they meant something. This one felt too real to forget. I was standing alone in a town swallowed by flame. The air was thick with smoke, and every breath burned my throat. The sky bled orange and black as beastly roars echoed all around me. And then I saw him. A towering creature stepped through the fire, half man, half beast. One hand clutched a gnarled wooden staff crowned with skulls. The other held a blood-stained axe. His wings, 4 of them, pitch black like ash, spread wide like some terrible angel cast from the heavens. He scanned the ruins until his eyes landed on me. He clenched his axe, lunged forward. He raised the blade high above his head, and I froze. I wanted to scream, to run, to fight, but before I could move, golden light burst forth, cutting through the smoke like the morning sun. It flared between us, blinding and warm. Then I woke up. I groaned, cracking one eye open. Morning light spilled through the shutters of my room, landing right on my face. My shoulder throbbed. I must have twisted myself up weird again. With a little grumble, I rolled onto my back. Much better. I stared at the wooden ceiling above me, letting the quiet settle. Just for a moment. Just long enough to wonder if I could sneak in a few more minutes of sleep before... Clang, sizzle. Ah, there it was. The sound of a pan and the smell of something frying drifted in from the kitchen. Father was cooking. I smiled. Father's cooking was the best. I leaned up from my bed and looked around my messy room. Still haven't cleaned it yet. My boots were kicked halfway under the chest at the end of my bed. My cloak was hanging off the corner of the window like it had tried to escape in the night. And there were at least 3 different tunics crumpled in the corner. I think one still had mud on it from last week from the hunting trip. I'll clean it later, I told myself. The same lie I told yesterday and the day before. I despise mud. Very annoying to clean. I stretched my arms over my head until I heard a satisfying pop in my back. The wood floor creaked beneath me as I swung my legs over to the side of the bed, toes meeting the chilly morning air. Outside the little window above my bed, I could see the soft haze of dawn settling over the fields. The wheat swayed gently in the wind, still kissed the dew. And our old scarecrow stood lopsided and stubborn as always, guarding the crop like he had something to prove. Then came the smell again. Eggs. Maybe wild onions too? My stomach growled like a beast. "Cub," I heard Father call from the other room. "If you don't get up now, I'll eat your portions too." He talks in a very monotone and grizzled voice that doesn't really change on how he feels. "You always say that," I shouted back, half laughing as I stood and reached for my tunic. He did always say that, and he never did. He liked calling me Cub. My dad was built like a bear. When I was a baby, when my mother was around, she used to look at my dad and she'd say, "A bear and his cub," in a teasing yet warm way. He really liked that. So that became my nickname for him. I grabbed my tunic off the peg by the bed, simple, worn, still holding a faint scent of last night's smoke from the hearth. I pulled it over my head and stepped into my pants, giving them a quick dusting before tightening the belt around my waist. Ugh, tight. My boots sat by the door, right where I left them, though one had a bit of hay in it again. I knocked it out with a quick shake and slipped them on. As I passed the mirror hanging crooked on the wall, a small glimpse of myself flickered by. The girl in the reflection was young, 18, dressed in hand-stitched clothes, with light brown, wavy hair that framed her face in an uneven bob. A few strands always slipped across her left eye, no matter how she moved it. Her eyes were a deeper shade of brown, quietly watchful even when she wasn't trying to be. She didn't pause to look longer. As I turned to leave, my eyes drifted just for a moment to the little trinket sitting on the windowsill. It was simple, a sun-shaped charm carved from driftwood, painted in golden leaf, that had mostly faded with time. My father made it. It was when I was little. The edges were rough, uneven, and the lady's face at the center was barely more than a few etched lines. But I liked it that way. It felt ours. La damen or, I whispered softly, bowing my head. Just a breath, not even a prayer. Enough. The morning light hit the charm just right, making it gleam for the briefest second. Then the sun shifted, and it was just wood again. I smiled faintly and stepped out forward into the warmth of the kitchen. The smell of eggs was stronger now, warm, familiar. I popped my neck with a soft crack as I stepped into the kitchen. It was small, a little cramped, but cozy in a way I liked. Kind of like a hobbit's home, though it always seemed just a bit too tight for Dad. Grizzled and broad-shouldered, hunched slightly as he worked over the hearth, stirring a pan of scrambled eggs. Morning. How'd you sleep? He rumbled, his deep voice carrying easily through that little house. My father, Jean Navarre, worked around the small kitchen with surprising ease despite his size. He was a big man, standing tall at well over 6 feet, with ruffled brown hair and a thick, neatly trimmed beard already streaked with gray. His simple farmer tunic strained with just a little at the shoulder, a testament to the hidden muscle from years of hard work in the fields. There was a bit of weight to him, too, but it only added to the feeling of sturdiness, like a man built to weather any storm. A strip of bacon hung from his hands, and he took a bite between stirring. He had a habit of snacking while cooking. He was halfway full by the time they sat down. Morning, Dad, I mumbled back. I stretched my arms overhead with a yawn. I shuffled to the table and pulled out a chair and flopped into it. I slept. I hesitated, thinking it over. Fine. Just weird dreams lately. The eggs hissed louder as her father flipped them expertly in the pan. Well, we'll start the day right with a good breakfast, he said, grabbing a plate from the cupboard and setting it down in front of her. He heaped on a generous serving of eggs and a few crisp strips of bacon, then reached for the fruit basket on the counter. From it, he plucked a bright apple, one of the good ones their neighbor had brought from the orchards this week, and sliced it neatly with his worn kitchen knife. He handed half to me with a wink and kept the other half for himself, already crunching it into a piece before he sat down. I smiled to myself. My dad always did have a way of making myself feel a little spoiled. I took my time eating, savoring the warmth of the eggs and the crispy bacon, letting the simple comforts of home settle on my lingering nerves from the strange dreams. As I chewed, my gaze drifted lazily to the window. Outside there was a flurry of movement, more than usual for the quiet little town of Dapplewood. I could see men hammering wooden posts into the ground, colored flags whipping and snapping into the morning breeze. Groups of villagers gathered, their voices carrying snippets of excitement and gossip. I blinked and looked back towards my dad, who was busy gnawing on another strip of bacon. Is something important today? I asked, tilting my head curiously. My father grunted thoughtfully, tossing the last bit of bacon into his mouth before wiping his hands on the cloth. Aye, he said, his voice full of that familiar low grumble. Today's the tournament. The Grail Knights are coming through. At once, my heart skipped a beat. The tournament. It wasn't just some fair or market day. This was a tradition, a spectacle. Every year, the Kingdom of Arcadia sent a company of Grail Knights to the fair provinces, like Dapplewood, both to entertain and to protect. While the knights put on a grand tournament for the people to enjoy, they also quietly ensured that no threats, orcs, beastmen, or worse had taken root nearby. It was a reminder, even out here at the edges of the kingdom, that Arcadia's strength watched over them. Think they'll bring the fancy horses again? I asked, a little more awake and smiling wide. My father chuckled, a deep and earthy sound. If we're lucky, might even see a hippogriff or two, if the wind's good and they ain't in a rush. I leaned back in my chair, grinning to myself. The idea of seeing a hippogriff again, majestic creatures that almost seem to glow under the sun, is enough to lift the morning haze from my mind completely. I'd only seen it once, and even then only from afar, but the memory had burned itself into my heart. Finish up, cub, my father said, ruffling my hair as he passed by. We'll head down once you're ready. Might even catch the night setting up. I stuffed another bite of eggs into my mouth eagerly. Today was going to be a good day.